The three little letters on the front of this car mean so much to so many. They're synonymous with fun, speed, space, and the Volkswagen Golf. This Mk1 Golf GTI debuted at the 1975 Frankfurt Motor Show, and so far it's spawned 6 direct successors. And I have a question: which is the greatest of them all?
It was VW's replacement for the ageing Beetle. The world was moving on and wanted something a little bit different, a little bit more refined. And thanks to tech from newly acquired Audi and front-wheel drive and water cooling, that's precisely what Volkswagen could offer. The car launched in the early 70s, but initially the Golf GTI wasn't part of the plan.
In fact, no one at VW really thought about a hot Golf, but thankfully engineers with imaginations and spare time exist. The GTI Prototype was built as an after-hours skunkworks affair.
In fact, it was done against the wishes of the head of engineering at the time, but once he had a go, he saw the light. Now, the initial prototype was actually based on a Sirocco and had a 1.6 litre 100 horsepower engine out of an Audi A8 GT. The suspension was set to very hard and the exhaust to super loud. It was a bit mad. However, when it was presented to top brass in the form of the Golf Sport, it was in a more sane state of tune. They tried it and they liked it.
It appeared at the 1975 Frankfurt Motor Show and it was dubbed the fastest VW ever. Its badges read GTI, Gran Turismo Injection, and it looked a little different from the usual Golfs. Tartan interior, golf ball gear knob, chin spoiler, red lipstick, black details on the sides, and even almost flared wheel arches.
Its engine was a 1.6, boasting 108 horsepower and 103 pound-feet. Now, that's not much by today's standards, but for a small hatchback in the mid-70s, that's a fair whack, and it's light, 810 kilos, which means it's good for the 0-62 run in 9 seconds, and it has a top speed of 110. Now, later down the line, its engine was upgraded to the one you get in here. It's got a 1.8 with 113 horsepower and 109 pound-foot. Now, that's good for a 0-62 run of 8.2 seconds and a top speed of a dizzying 114 miles an hour. And here's what it's like to drive. Well, I'm in a car made in the 70s. It feels like a car made in the 70s. The visibility out of this thing is just amazing. I can see everything and there's so much space and it feels so airy. The steering is a little bit of a dead zone, you might be able to see, but it's nice, it's direct, it works. The throttle response is there. The engine, because it's an old car and they make loads and loads of noise, you're always a bit scared to rev it, but it feels good, it feels perky, awake and alive. And the suspension, not as strong as the stuff you get today, but this is fantastic. It's such good fun because it's a car designed, originally as a normal family hatchback, but some engineers had a good idea, and that good idea accidentally created an icon. The brakes are its major flaw, because if you want to use them, you have to plan well ahead of any kind of speed. So I'm braking now. Please slow down, car. Please slow down. Come on. There we go. They're not brilliant. They're not the worst I've ever encountered, but it would be going some way to say they were the best. The gear change is fantastic. I love it. It's very light, it's very airy, it's really direct as well. To drive it is to understand why people loved it. It's a fun, happy little thing. It's revvy, it wants to go really quickly. It wants to feel like you're having fun. It wants to let you enjoy it for its talents and its skills. And you fling it into a corner, you feel the whole thing roll. And they did have a habit of raising their rear wheel if you went in at maximum attack. Now, I can't say I'm going to have the stones to do that, but it's so much fun.
It came to market in 1976 in Germany, 79 in the UK, and it did rather well for the company. It was a serious car for people who needed practicality. It was your sports car and daily driver in one. Now, it's often referred to as the first hot hatch that was predated by one other, and the term wasn't coined until the 80s. It was the first to reach public consciousness in any meaningful way though. The GTI was the car to have.
So that was the start of a lineage that's lasted more than 40 years. So where do we go from here? Well, how about we try the current last? This is the Mark 7 Golf GTI.